Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for Closing the Wealth Gap. The one show, maybe the only show that shows you how to close the wealth gap in your own life with the man who's done it for many, our wealth coach himself, Tyrone French. Hey, Tyrone.
Welcome to another edition of Closing the Wealth Gap. I'm your host, Tyrone French. And somewhere out there is my producer and good friend, Mr. Paul Roberts. How's
Excited
it going, Paul?
today. I'm excited today. Not that I'm not always excited to learn from the coach, but the coach brought along some really interesting players today onto the field here.
Well, it was a lucky star, man. It was one of those things where everything lined up and
Hmm.
the birds were chirping and the sun was shining, and all of a sudden I get in touch with Mr. Coin Authenticator himself. I want to introduce you guys to a stalwart in the industry. His name is Michael Miles Standish. Today we're going to talk about numismatic coins. I know that's a unfamiliar term with a lot of you guys, but again, stay with us. By the end of this interview, you're going to be digging through your coin, your drawers, your shoe boxes, uh, you know, because I know a lot of guys. You have relatives that have left you coins that are just sitting in your drawers or sitting in your glove compartment, and you don't know what to do with these coins. Well, we got a guy, an expert that can literally tell you what to do with these coins. Um, a lot of times you think a penny is just a penny or a dime is a dime, and I'm going to tell you right now, it could be worth a whole lot more than that.
And before I duck out, I just want to say my 2 cents worth. I was a coin collector as a kid, and as your guest probably correctly guessed, somewhere along high school, college, I discovered cars and girls, and the coins went back in the box, never to be looked at again. But my father, we started it kind of as a father-son thing. He continued up until the day he died and left me a giant box of coins and proof sets that I haven't the faintest idea what to do with. They're still sitting in the garage or up in the attic in a box. So I'll duck out and listen to that, but I'm like many of your audience. I don't know
But
much
before you
about
go,
this.
Paul, I mean,
Yeah.
you are that every man. You have that every man story,
Yeah.
and
I
so your story is not unique. It's everybody has that same story.
Yeah. My
So
dad thought this would be a legacy. It started off as a fun thing we did as father and son to collect, and we went to shows and did things together. We
yeah.
didn't have a whole lot of things we shared in common. That was one of them. And he continued it. He did it just for me, and then he
Yeah.
got hooked on it until the day he died was buying coins. And now I'm left with this stuff. He died 10 years ago. I still got it in a box. I don't know what to do with this stuff.
Well, I tell you what. Let's bring in our guest
Yeah.
right now, Michael Miles Standish. How are you, sir?
Hey, thank you, Tyrone. Thank you, Paul, for having me on. Of course, I see that hat that says coach. I feel like the song of Dan Fogerty. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play.
Well, I'm glad you're eager to get started because I'm gonna bring you. I'm gonna point to you. I'm gonna call your number in a minute. But I want to set this up by letting our audience know that you are the vice president of the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, which is NGC.
Not any
Uh,
longer. Not any longer, Paul or
wh-
Tyrone.
oh no. Okay. Well, I tell you what then. You you are a coin authenticator.
Yeah,
So what I'd like to do now is just
call me.
introduce you to the audience.
I think you should introduce me as um, independent escort, or excuse me, independent expert in numismatics, bullion, and sports collectibles.
Well, I tell you what, you did it a lot better than I could have. But you have a wealth of knowledge. You've been working with a lot of these grading companies. I see Annex. You've been with what is the other grading company? PGCS or PCGS. There's a lot of acronyms here, but basically, Miles know exactly what he's talking about. And I'm going to give you the floor because again, I'm going to stand back. Tell us about yourself, how you got into coins, and basically how our audience can benefit from this conversation. So, Miles, take it away.
Well, for over 36 years, I spent my time involved in rare numismatic coins. Obviously working close to numismatics, you end up working in the bullion markets with gold and silver. And of course, I've been a sports expert for a long, long time.
Yes.
Certified some of the most major sports items out there, certified and graded over 10 million coins in over 36 years of being an expert coin grader of numismatic coins. Coins have been my passion since I was 9 years old. I just never lost interest. I kept a balance of things that you get interested along with life, but it always circled back into what made me happy, what made me the most interested in, and numismatics and coin collecting, coin certification has been my life forever.
Now, our audience are going to hear that term numismatic, and it's going to fly going one ear and out the other. Can you define that term?
Well, a numismatic coin first needs to be a legal tender coin from any given country. Okay. Typically, the coins of value are made of a sound money, either gold, silver, platinum, nickel, palladium, platinum. Those are the typical metals they're made out of, but they're a legal tender coin.
Yes.
They're not a metal, but they're either a sovereign nation, or the U.S. United States of America makes them a legal tender coin.
Yes.
And they are sought after both based on condition and rarity, and demand.
Yes. So that's a mouthful, given that you mentioned, and I mentioned Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, or NGC. Why is it important to have a coin that is actually graded or has a letter grade?
Well, first off, the grading services that I've been involved with have been the three major leaders in the certification of coins. I was at PCGS for 29 years, NGC for 6 years, and ANAX for 2 years. I've always been I've been the hired gun, of course, to both grade coins and develop marketing for more coins to get graded, more coins to be sold and collected by collectors around the world. The importance of a grading service to grade them is they're independent. They don't own the coins. They independently certify and grade those coins on an individual basis with no financial interest. They're just paid a service fee to, encapsulate them in a sealed hole.
Yes. Well, when we talk about grading, and again, our audience, they don't know anything about numismatic coins. When you start talking about a grade, they don't even know the scale of what a grade could be. So can you go over the different scales as far as what grade can be possibly placed on a numismatic coin?
A numismatic coin of any value over its metal value, they're graded on a scale of 1 to 70. 60 to 70 being uncirculated. That means not spent, not put in your pocket, not slid across a countertop, in a bar or a restaurant. But the uncirculated grades start at mint state or uncirculated MS60. Okay. And the higher the grade, typically the higher the value.
Okay. So imagine someone has a bunch of coins at home, or in their garage, or in their sock drawer, whatever. And this coin has been passed down from grandfather to father and now son. And they don't understand the grading process. They didn't even understand any acronyms that there are grading companies out there. What would be the first step to having this coin authenticated or certified or graded?
Well, they should probably get together with an individual that has an idea of what they might have. And, the grading companies on their websites, have a list of authorized dealers in their area. Mm-hmm. You can go to PCGS or ngc.com, and they would have dealers in their area of experts that you could seek out, not necessarily to sell the coins, but to inquire what coins would have value to be graded.
Okay.
It isn't something you can figure out on your own if you have no experience, but that's the best place to start.
So typically, why would you want a higher grade versus a lower grade on a coin?
Well, it's no different than, it'd be like buying a vintage automobile. Would you want an old clunker, or would you want a pristine cherry? And typically the higher grades produce higher values.
So how is the coin actually, meaning that let's say you go through this grading process, you have these coins, let's say you got a particular grade of MS 69, and all of a sudden and let's say you got a few of these coins or whatever, you've gone to trade shows. Now you have a pretty good understanding of what a numismatic coin is. You're familiar with the grade on that coin. Um, what would be the next step as far as making sure that, let's say if you want to, you want somebody to authenticate the coin or the coin was certified, how would you go about, let's say if you want to buy a numismatic coin and you knew that it was a mid-state 70 or 69, how would you verify that the coin was actually certified and not counterfeit?
Well, you can verify the certified holders on the websites of the grading service to find out if it's actually a genuine certified product from their service. You could obviously go to your local expert and show it to them also to confirm that.
Okay.
It's just a couple of ways.
The reason I say that is because, a lot of times you can look on eBay or something like that and you'll see a lot of coins that are being sold. But when a person gets that coin, it's not the art, it's not the original article. And I know my audience, again, they want to make sure that they're getting quality. They want to make sure that they're not being ripped off or taken advantage of. So the reason I brought that up is because, it's just nice knowing. And again, I've been collecting numismatic coins for about 20 years now. And I really don't bring it up to a lot of people that I know or friends, family, or even my audience, because quite frankly, they weren't interested in it, or they didn't understand the value of having these coins. And then if I did talk about it, they didn't understand the process as far as how to get started. Now I'm gonna be honest. I have a lot of coins that are just loose coins that I need to have graded. So but I typically what I do now is I buy mint state 70 coins. And the reason I chose to do that is because for me, I didn't want the hit or miss. I didn't want to have certain coins and then have that coin graded and then it comes back with a certain coin, whether it was mint state 65 or mint state 67. I wanted to make sure that I was starting out with that mint state 70 seal and authentication.
Yeah, the expense to get it graded, and if it doesn't meet the grade of say 70,
yes,
can make the downside very high for you.
Exactly. And the only reason I brought that up is because, again, just based on trial and error, some people they'll start out on a process. It doesn't turn out the way they thought it would turn out, and they get discouraged. And so I was just saying, I just wanted my audience to know that, yeah, you can actually have your own coins. You can submit those coins. You can have those coins graded. It may not come back with the grade that you thought that it should have had. It may not have the value associated that you thought you might have had, but there are other companies and entities out there that you can literally buy a mint state 70 coin. So while I have you out here on this show, you've written a book called Morgan Dollar, America Love Affair with Legendary Coins. How can my audience and my listeners get a copy of your book?
Well, currently it's in its coming out in its second edition. It won't be out till 2023 potentially. Okay. In its second edition, the other book that I'd also written, which is also a bestseller. Both books are bestsellers. The American Silver Eagle book. I can show you that right now.
Okay.
That's book,
beautiful.
Yeah, it's I don't know if you can see that properly.
We can see it.
Yeah, okay. It's in its fourth edition, by the way. Wow. And it's been updated and, demand, of course, because it's in its fourth edition. I basically, every few years I have had to keep on updating it and reprinting it. And it's had tremendous interest. It's the #1 selling individual coin series book of all time. So the demand has been very high.
Yes.
It's based on American Silver Eagles. I co-author that book with the designer of the reverse of that coin, which is John Mercanti, who is the 12th chief engraver of the United States Mint. That coin was signed into law by the United States in late 1985 by Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
And the forward on that book is with his son, Michael Reagan.
Wow. So again, the reason that you're on this show as an expert and authenticator is that I want people to have this direct connection to whereas they're putting a face, they're putting a story with this book. Now, how can some of my listeners get in touch with you directly?
Actually, probably the best place that they can get that book and the easiest way, if they go to 7kmetals.com.
7kmetals.com. Perfect. Now, can you 7K Metals? I know it's a coin dealer. For disclosure, I purchased my metals through 7K Metals.
Okay.
I also have a precious metals IRA that I use 7K Metals as a dealer to purchase my my metals for my IRA. How did and again, I didn't know this. How did 7K Metals? How did 7K Metals? How did that come about as far as them being able to offer your book?
Actually, I approached them many years ago and was introduced to them and liked what they were doing, and I made it available. I made the book available to them.
Okay.
To be a distributor of the book. I'm also an exclusive coin designer for them.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is because 7K Metals is a membership, but if you go to that website and Michael's book is there, you don't have to have a membership to purchase Michael's book. So again, this is some information I got today that I'm going to go back and I'm going to check their resource, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to purchase that book today because again, I know Miles. He's very thorough. I'm sure the book is extremely detailed, and the reason that you want to do this is start getting to educating yourself. But you want to make sure that you're going to the right source. And so I'm just letting you guys know just today, Miles, he's a credible source, and definitely go to 7K Metals and pick up that book. And I'll vouch for it 100%, 100%.
Thank
so
you.
Miles, tell me, you actually received a medal and an award for your numismatic knowledge. Can you tell me about that? Because again, I just want my listeners to know more and more about this man that's sitting on this that's sitting on this platform. That is not just somebody that's blowing smoke.
Oh, that was the Director's Medal of Excellence. Here, give me 1 second. That way all the viewers know that we don't pre-rehearse this, but that was the Director's Medal of Excellence from the United States Mint. I was the first numismatist outside of the United States Mint that had ever received one of these medals from the actual mint director. And it's the Director's Medal of Excellence. And you can see the Treasury Department seal on that. And of course, the United States Mint's its logo too on there. And this was given me in 2011.
Yes.
And it, I've gotten a lot of awards before, but that was one of them I cherish. It's right up there at the top with a most recent award that I'd gotten. Coin World magazine in 2020 made me the most in the top 10 most influential people in numismatics from 1960 to 2020. So
Wow.
over 60 years, they made me one of the most influential people in the industry.
Well, see, they say it's poor taste to brag on yourself, but if I do it, I mean, I can brag on you all day long. So, and I have no problem with doing it because, again, you're so down to earth, you're so impressive. But the knowledge base that you have, and with the books and everything, we're just honored to have you on the show today. And you're from Michigan, if that's correct.
Yeah,
Kalamazoo.
Originally, I was born and raised in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Lived in California for well over 20 years. But I reside just outside of Austin, Texas, in Texas Hill Country.
Yes. So Orange County. OC Talk Radio. Irvine, California. And when we started talking, I looked at your phone number, and it was a Orange County
Sure.
area code. So it kind of threw us off a little bit just based on our first meeting. But you've Orange County, Texas, Michigan. You've been around.
Yeah, well, I've lived where I've wanted to live and chose places that my wife and I enjoy. And I think for the duration, it'll be Hill Country and just outside of Austin. Like I said, we were in Orange County for over 20 years, and not too far from where your studios are. It's where I originally landed in Orange County in about 1985, and
Wow.
lived in that area. And then later on, I guess it was 2005, we moved to Texas.
Wow. Well, I tell you, it's an honor to have you back home today, if only for a few minutes on this platform. But I got to ask you again, Miles, Miles Standish. There's a backstory with this Miles. Can you
Well,
share what people call you Miles? I started calling you Miles, but how did that come about?
Well, my eighth great-great-grandfather was Miles Standish. He was the military captain on the Mayflower that brought the Pilgrims from, believe it or not, Plymouth, England,
Wow.
to, of course, which became later Plymouth, Massachusetts. And
Wow.
so that's the tie to that. And it was a nickname given to me a long, long time ago. When I worked for the American Numismatic Association, they had a president at the time, and she always called me Miles, and it kind of just stuck. But it's a tribute to my great grandfather. 8 generations back to 1620, as the military captain that protected the Pilgrims when they landed in the New World.
Wow. That's some kind of history. That is some kind of history. That is Americana right there. Now I tell you what, I'm gonna bring in my producer Paul Roberts, because he's back there. He's giddy right now, and I know there's a couple of questions that he wants to ask you, because we've covered a few things, but your resume is so impressive. Paul, are you there?
I am. Was Miles, refresh my American history? Was Miles Standish the guy that fell in love with Pocahontas and saved the Pilgrims in Thanksgiving, or am I mixing up the stories here?
No, I think that may have been John Alden, but
One of those
yeah,
guys. They fell in love, and that's how the Pilgrims got through the first month where we had Thanksgiving, because the Indians helped them get through the first rough winter and all that kind of stuff. All right.
my wife is of heritage. Her heritage descent is Italian, and her great grandparents came to Ellis Island, and I remember watching a show on the History Channel and looking at it, and it's a great story, obviously, of Americans who came from different lands the way they did, and they went through Ellis Island. And I remember her asking, what year did your family come here?
We were the original ones. Yeah, we're the first. We're the first
Well,
Pilgrims.
I didn't say 1620, but I just kind of looked at her and I said, well, we kind of showed up before
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
wow. A few minutes. Just a few minutes.
That's pretty rare. All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, aside from that, I guess I got to ask the question that I've always wondered. My father and I started collecting coins as just a hobby, of something for Dad and son to do. And somehow I thought it was cool, and I brought Dad into it. He stuck with it. He really thought it was a sound investment, not just a fun thing to do. Has it been a sound investment through the years? I know people talk about gold coins and the double eagles. I get all that. That stuff is escalated and gone through. But just regular coins, if you wanted to collect pennies or nickels or dimes or quarters, has that accrued in value, or like so many old collectibles, has the market diminished because people just aren't into collecting anymore?
Well, to tell you the truth, with gold and silver, obviously there's been cycles up and down. Okay.
Right.
Remember in 1933 when they outlawed the ownership of gold in this country, $20 was worth $20 that
Right.
they outlawed.
Right.
Okay. Now, an ounce of gold at the time was worth a little bit.
$35?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But that $35 of an ounce of gold in 1933, today an ounce of gold is over $1,650 an ounce.
Right.
But the key component of owning bullion is that, it's kind of like your defense. It's the defense for a lot of things. We're obviously going through some inflationary times that we haven't had in 40 years. And the importance of owning gold and silver during these times is probably going to be, when the story is told, going to be one of the more significant things that people did. Numismatics are kind of your offense, and that is individual selected coins that have, limited minages, high demand, high quality. They tend to do extremely well, regardless of inflationary times or not. So they're kind of they're kind of your offense.
So beyond gold and silver, and Tyrone talks about that all the time, owning gold and silver somehow in a coin, in a bar, in a certificate, in a, I don't know, stocks or something. There are other ways to own it, that you own it collectively or physically own it. I've heard that a lot of times on this show, and I believe that. And I think my father believed it too.
I believe in the physical.
I know you're a big...
owning the physical metal.
There's only one way that I believe that you should own sound money, gold, silver, platinum, is in a physical form.
Yes.
And I believe in the same thing with numismatic coins. But I will say this, in the history of the world, gold and silver have always sustained all major changes.
So I guess my question is about other things: copper pennies, nickels. I don't even know if they have nickel in them anymore here. But whatever other sorts of collectible coins, has that been as successful an investment strategy, or is that something you do because you like it and it's fun and it's like collecting comic books or something?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's lots of different collectibles. I have a background in sports memorabilia. In the last 5 years, sports memorabilia and trading cards have been extremely hot. Mm-hmm. Potentially there's always a bubble, of course. Yes. I still would say this: during tough economic times, I wouldn't want to be owning anything paper. I would want to own sound money, gold mm-hmm. and silver, gold, silver, or numismatic coins. I kind of like the play with numismatic coins because they do well during all kinds of different times. Where gold and silver, I think, predominantly do well in inflationary times or troubled times globally. The copper, the nickel, things like that. They do have increased values, but the quantity that you need is so massive. Silver is really inexpensive at $16 to $18, under $20 an ounce.
Yes.
And it's affordable for any listener that you have. And gold can be the same way, depending on what fractional size you may purchase it in.
Yes. I like to say, for me, it's insurance, it's currency insurance, and it's a hedge against inflation. And I, as a collector, I just love collecting numismatic coins. Mm-hmm. So it's even just the value of just having a collection for me, that just makes it enjoyable.
That was my dad. He thought it was a sound investment, but he got a kick out of it. My dad loved buying proof sets. Does anybody buy proof sets anymore directly from the mint? These are things beyond uncirculated. These are encased, and they're specially polished and cut to extra precision. And the mint makes money by selling these things in the assumption that these are the best of the best. And if you want to own a coin, if you really like collecting coins and looking at them like my dad did, showing them to people, then why not buy them as a proof set? Is that proven to be a good strategy, or is that just for fun?
It's more for fun.
Yes.
It's been history says that a lot of those kinds of things are for fun. But the thing is, I think you should do things that are fun. And buying gold and silver, sound money, or numismatic coins, believe me, you can have a lot of fun. But I think you kind of weed through the things that are fun, and you get a combination of both fun and that they hold value and they have an opportunity to increase in value. And that's why, I like the limited availability of numismatic coins and owning gold and silver.
You said that extremely well, Miles, because the difference, I would buy coins from the mint. But as I began to educate myself and get a better understanding, I realized that those coins weren't graded. And
Mhm.
yes, they're still in my collection. My dad, when he passed away, I got a lot of his coins, his proof sets. But the coins that I value the most are my graded coins. And we talk about graded, I don't like to have the hit or miss uh, scenario based on me having a coin that I submitted and have it graded. I just go directly for the Mint State 70 grade.
Mhm. Mhm.
Give me some success stories of if you bought a coin when I stopped about probably 1970. That's when I started high school. My dad kept going in the 70s. He was thrilled when did they go from real silver in quarters to taking that out and it was not silver anymore? Wasn't that like the late 60s, early 70s or something?
1965 was the first year of no silver in dimes and quarters.
So he was
Yes.
hoarding that stuff for years. Even as they, even in circulation, he would pull those out and put them in a bag somewhere. And he said, "These are going to be worth something someday." I'm like, "Dad, no, come on." But he had bags of them, and I think they are worth something now. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, gentlemen, you guys have so much in common. Miles, we could sit here and talk for hours, but our time is limited. We would love to have you back on the show and kind of like this is a and then a B side of the record. So bring you back for a B side. And
I'd love to hear sports memorabilia because when from the '80s for a while there, I had a sports bar. Oh my God, you couldn't buy this stuff. The jerseys and the baseball cards and all the stuff. It was like going nuts. And then it seemed like it cooled off and maybe it got over subscribed or something here. But that seemed to be I'm sure it still has value, but it was fanatical for a while there.
You said the flip side. That's usually not the hit song. The A side is usually,
Yeah,
the
right.
song. If people remember our 45s and albums.
well,
Oh,
we're doing
they,
the A side today. So
yeah,
we'll bring you back and do the I guess
the
the
B side.
baseball cards. Yeah, we'll bring you back
Well,
for a B side.
I look forward talking about collectibles. Obviously, I'm very bullish on owning numismatic coins and sound money. I can't stress that enough. That fiat currencies they have a certain shelf life, and the current system that we're on, when we were taken off the gold standard by Richard Nixon and company during 1971,
Yes.
we're at the 50-year mark, and a lot of currencies, fiat currencies, have history of lasting about 50 years.
Hmm.
So, I'm sure we have changes in the future. And I say a little bit of offense and prevent defense is to have some gold and silver.
Absolutely. And I can tell you this with certainty, every fiat currency has failed 100% of the time.
That's a frightening statement. You said that before.
You think about it, they set up a system and they know eventually it'll fail. They never set up a sound system that they know that it can just continue on. And
Right.
Wow.
it's really sad and unfortunate.
I'd love to
And
hear not today because I know we're out of time, but digital currencies, this whole idea, everybody's fascinated with, Bitcoin and all these other things here. And some people say it's a big scam. Jamie Dimon and other people like that said there's no there. Famous, what does he run? Citibank or something. And then other people are like, no, this is the future. This is it. We're not going to have physical coins. We're going to have cyber coins as we
well,
do cyber transactions, Amazon, other places.
well, we're on a fiat system that we know that will have its changeover or failure date, just like all past currencies have ever failed. So why is it that we think that somebody's now created something that's going to be good forever? And the only
Right.
thing good forever that's survived everything in time has been either a rare coin or a piece of gold or silver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It has a way. It's always lasted amongst all those failed currencies since the beginning of man. So when somebody says this is the way, I think that's a lot of pie in the sky of another fiat system, honestly, and something to be said about digital currency. Our physical currency that we have in our wallets or our pockets on a daily basis only represents about 3% of the physical currency changing hands.
Wow.
The rest is already digital.
Yeah. You talk like credit cards or something. That's really a digital transaction, right?
Exactly. So, like I said, when people say that, Bitcoin's the end answer, I think those are a lot of newbies that aren't doing their homework.
Okay. Well, that's what we got.
Well,
Maybe he's got to come back twice.
Well, again, Miles, you have an open invitation to come back anytime, buddy.
Love it. I think it'd be fantastic.
And what I'd like to do now, again, if you have questions, if you're curious about anything that went on today, look us up. I want you to go to closingthewealthgap.net. You can listen to this podcast over and over and over again. If you want to reach me directly, I can get you the information that you need. Go to TyroneFrench.coach. First name, last name, TyroneFrench.coach. You can my email address is Tyrone@TyroneFrench.com. And again, send me your questions, and we can get you started. We can get the answers that you need. And so, Miles, again, thank you for being on the show. Again, you have an open invitation to come back anytime, sir.
Thank you. You guys are a delight, and I like the questions you ask, and it's a great venue to get a chance to. I can't say that I can give all the answers, but I can give a few crumbs along the way that help people get to a point where they can make a accurate decision that helps them.
Well, again, we're going to send the 7K mailers to buy your book. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go there today and buy your book.
Okay. With that, I'm going to end it because we'll just start buying more stuff here. And pretty soon I'll empty out my physical currency for all this other stuff here. Thanks so much for coming on. Look forward to having you come back and talk about collectibles and digital currencies and just collecting coins in general, all these things.
Absolutely.
Love to hear all that stuff. Thanks for coming on today here.
Thanks, Miles. Thanks, Paul.
That's our show for this week. Closing the Wealth Gap. The one show, the only show that shows you how to take control of your financial future. Right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OCTalkRadio.net.